Okay, so I think it's live and running. Hey, let me just message Brett really quick that I'm on. So the way it works is I have to start it and then she will join. But anyways, hi. Hope you're having a good afternoon. My name is Paige and we're going to be talking about online teaching in 2020 in just a bit. If you're watching this, there's a good chance that you probably already are an online teacher, and if you're wondering if now is a good time to join, then that would be that's the question of the hour. Is it still a good time to join and be an online teacher? So I'm trying to figure out, you have to, I think, request Brett. So I see you. How do I invite you? Okay, now I can invite you. Perfect. Got it. Okay. Cool.
So, hey, you're live and here. Yay, it works.
Awesome. Can you hear me?
Well, yeah, I can see and hear you. Can you see and hear me? Cool. I feel like final IT check.
Yay.
Yeah. Anyways, it's 2020. It's been like a year and a half.
It has. So when did you start teaching online?
I started January 2018.
Okay.
So it's been like a full 2 years for me now. Yeah. I did it as a side hustle and just to avoid going to summer school, basically. So. Oh no, it's giving me this spin. We might have to. Oh, I see the spinning of death for Brett, and I'm not quite sure how to fix it. Let me message her and see what's going on.
Sorry.
Okay, now.
You're fine. Somebody called me, so I got.
Oh yeah, that happened.
Like I can't. Yeah, that's annoying. No one ever calls me unless it's
except for right now. Yeah.
Very true.
But you've been teaching even longer. When did you start teaching online?
2016. So it's been like 4 years.
That is a long time.
It has been a long time. And when I started teaching, I had just moved to Pennsylvania, so I didn't have a job. So I kind of jumped right into it, like full time. And it was a lot easier back then to work full time because it was just starting and they were desperate for teachers.
Sure.
I think I did the little VIP kid thing where they sent, like, you could see like what number teacher you were, and I was like 1,000 something. So I mean, they needed teachers badly. It's not the case anymore.
Yeah, I knew my number was so high up I didn't even bother to re-download the app to find it. I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
But 4 years of teaching online, and I think it's interesting that you started teaching online due to a move, because that's kind of why I'm doing it full time right now, is because I moved down to Georgia, and like, you know, when you're moving and you can have a job right away versus going job hunting, that's a very enticing thing.
Right. Yeah. And then you're kind of you get sucked into it because
it sucks you in because you're teaching full time
in the morning.
Well, you're teaching so many hours. By the time normal people are awake, you're like, I don't want to leave my house.
Right.
I want to go to bed in a way.
Take a nap. Yeah. Totally true. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, the big thing is, like, there's not as much demand for teachers these days. It's harder to start.
Yeah. It's like I always tell, I still think this is an awesome job for part-time money.
Yeah.
Because you cannot find another job where you can work whatever hours you want to work 1 hour, work no hours, work 20 hours, and get paid around $20 an hour. I mean, realistically, if I went out and tried to find a part-time job somewhere, I'm going to be stuck having to work, you know, a 4-hour shift, you know, a couple times a week. And I'm going to be making, you know, $10 an hour, maybe, if I'm lucky. You know,
it's a good side gig for sure.
Right. But full-time it's hard. It's harder and harder to make it a full-time.
That's how I feel right now. I feel like my goal is to just be part-time again.
Yeah. And that's what I'm moving towards. I'm moving towards just doing part-time. I've interviewed a bunch of places the last couple of weeks to do online teaching, but like for an actual like American high school or middle school, you know, like a charter school. There's a lot of charter schools in Pennsylvania that are online. So I've applied for a few of those jobs. So I'm hoping I get one of those, which would be normal hours, but it would be basically the same thing we were doing. I felt really prepared going into these interviews because I had to do like a mock lesson, and it was just like signing into GoGoKid or VIP Kid. And I've got my little video, and I've got a chat box, and I've got my PowerPoint lesson. So I felt really prepared for that. And I think, I know you mentioned this a lot, but I feel like people underestimate the skills that they've gained from this job, and that you really can take those and do other things as well. So I think
there's life after, I think.
You can definitely find other options and other things to do if you are like thinking, man, I'm not getting the bookings I used to get a year ago. And I hear that from a lot of people who have been working, 3-4 years like I have, and they're just not getting the same amount of bookings. And then you have a new person who hops in and is like, oh, I'm getting tons of bookings and you just must not be good enough. Well, no, that's not the way it works.
The algorithm or something in the matrix changed. It's not on you. And I think that the companies never really advertised it as being full-time. So that's my thing as well. It's kind of like, where is the fault? Is it like our dreaming and like not understanding IC work?
Yeah,
and
like, at the same time, all the different changes that all of these companies have been making over the last year especially, basically make it so that the more you teach, the more income you're making. So on one hand, yeah, it's not supposed to be a full-time job, but on the other hand, if you want to actually make what you were making before, you've got to be doing more and more.
Get squished.
So yeah, it's kind of a catch-22.
Yeah, and especially with secondary work, I feel like, I don't know, like the expectation of, doing workshops and mentoring and all of that, it's like there's this expectation of full-time work, and like the pay for the time putting into those sorts of things, that's really not keeping up.
Right. Yeah. No, definitely not. And when I did mock mentor stuff for VIP Kid, I eventually left that because it's the same type of thing, and I see it over and over again from other companies. But all of these companies are trying to find, what is going to bring them the most profit, which of course is reasonable. You're a business. But so they just throw these things out there, like, we're going to try this program and that program and this program, and they need people for those programs. And so they hire people and they start it, and then they let those people go with no, warning, because it's the nature of being an independent contractor. But that's eventually why I left the mock mentor program, because it just was like, they kept starting all these new things, and then you had to get trained for that and spend a lot of time. VIP Kid was really great about reimbursing you for it, but you didn't get reimbursed the amount of time you actually put in. So they would give you like a flat, like, okay, we'll give you $12 to do this training. Well, it took you like, an hour to do the training. So it didn't really balance out. It was nice because there's a lot of companies that do not give you.
No, sometimes you don't even get paid if the candidate doesn't show up.
Right. So there's a lot of like things like that make it difficult to do secondary stuff, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I think that dream is like the one that I think most recently people have come around to, because I feel like last year the big thing was finding a secondary position at one of these companies, and now basically everyone that kind of did secondaries, you can kind of see by their actions what they're doing, and you have to know it's not paying what it used to.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think there's always a place, there's always a place for teaching online, because there's going to be a demand for it, but I just don't see it being the same demand that there was 4 years ago. And to be honest, most of these companies are not profitable. They're continuing to exist on investor money. And the only reason that investors are investing in these companies is because they're hoping for a payout on the AI end, the artificial intelligence end, which would basically cut us out anyway. But that's what they're hoping for. They're hoping that they're going to be able to develop some, great apps and make money that way with the low cost down the road. So that's why these companies are investing. So the longer it takes companies like VIP Kid and GoGo Kid and all these other places to develop some sort of AI type technology, the less and less that investor money is going to come around.
Yeah, they're hemorrhaging.
Yeah, all the different articles about VIP Kid and having trouble getting investors and stuff. What was that, like 6 months ago, a year ago? And then you see a lot of changes. So the investors all have their own, like, hey, and in my opinion, that's why GoGo or VIP Kid hired so many teachers, because I'm sure that during that investment round, part of the qualifications were, hey, you need to have so many teachers or, so many students.
Yeah.
And so they do whatever they can to do that, which may or may not be the best long-term.
You see that a lot with new companies. There's a really hyper-focus on getting that teacher number up, and then they're having to manage this group of angry independent contractors in their social group, and it's like...
Right. And that's one of the things I always tell people, like, who are like, oh, I've heard this about this new company. People always ask me, like, oh, I heard about this new company. Have you heard about it? And are they any good? That's one of the first questions I ask, like, well, are they actually teaching any classes? Because the couple of times that these companies have pushed for having tons of teachers right off the bat without having a platform, without having any students, they fail because it's not an easy market to get into. There's a lot of upfront investment costs because you're coming in, you know, 4 or 5, whatever, 5 years after VIP Kid. So VIP Kid has 5 years of growth, 5 years of technology improvement, and you're trying to jump in and compare with them. So unless you have a lot of money to invest right from the beginning on technology, getting a platform, you know, giving goodies to students. I mean, these students are getting a lot. So, you know, the amount of profit that the companies are making is not much because they're having to give a lot to get students to sign up. Free packages, free money, free swag, you know, if you buy so many classes.
I have a regular who's got like 7 of those uni figurines. I don't even know how. Like, but I know that based on what I know about the family, they're not buying it with their own money. They're barely able to afford the classes. Even though the classes, when you consider the platform costs, the curriculum, what the teacher makes, IT support, there's not a lot of cuts. There's a whole lot of anybody in there.
And buildings, you know, they're having to pay for the buildings and the servers and all. There's a lot of costs. Marketing. And you know, some of these companies, like China is really at this point the only place that seems to have a clientele that's willing to even pay for classes. And
we don't pay.
Yeah,
I looked into some things here, and we want to pay tutors like $12 an hour tops. People still complain about it. Out school, I was seeing people complain about classes that cost like $5 a kid.
Yeah, right.
Really?
Right.
Really?
Yeah. So in order, and you can't really do business in China unless you're Chinese. No. So the companies that are like, oh, we're going to, you know, bust into the Chinese market. No, you're not. It's not going to happen.
No, that's
you're
just
stuck
the phrase that you don't know.
Right. You're having to go to these other places which aren't going to pay as much. So.
Yeah, I think that there's just a lot going on. If you look at globally, I just look at events. I don't want to get into like too much political stuff here, but we live in really interesting times, and the Chinese economy is a huge can of worms in and of itself. Like, I don't think that even they deal with what's going on all the time. Maybe they do, but
right. And someone asked and brought up a good point too. I see in the comments about like data mining. So I mean, I know that that's been talked about just with Facebook and all kinds of stuff. So
maybe.
Sorry, I got my battery was low. Yeah, there definitely is a component to that. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you want to steal my data, I'm not doing anything exciting. So it's not for me.
For what it's worth, my husband has me on a separate network.
Well, you have a totally different situation, though. I mean, you know, there's a lot of military wives and spouses who work for these companies, and it is kind of questionable. Like, what exactly are they doing? I mean, when you're signing those contracts, I mean, I think it was an article a long time ago where it talked about with VIP Kid, whatever university it was that was like taking all of our AI, like our images and our videos and analyzing them. Like, you know, how often is the student smiling? How often, you know, what's the teacher doing? So like, I mean, you're basically agreeing
to a study. Where can I want to read about that study now.
Like, there was a study. It was like a year ago. It was whatever college or university that they were working for. They have like a specific university that's basically analyzing all of our data.
Well, you have to think, I mean, where we work primarily, GoGo Kid, ByteDance owns TikTok and GoGo Kid for a reason.
Right. Yeah.
It's all about AI.
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, I know maybe this is like a little conspiracy theory-ish, but you know, like I was just on Facebook the other day where people were talking about, hey, ever since I've started this job, I've had my stuff hacked. I've had, you know, I get these phone calls.
And there's different companies that do different things. It depends like how deep you dive into the rabbit hole of online ESL, I feel like.
Right.
I mean, I've sent off my passport image to like, I sent it off to Kitopia, and I kind of regret doing that because then they were like, oh, we're going to withhold Vietnamese taxes. And I'm like, not working there.
Right.
But now they have that information. So that is definitely something to consider.
Right. But like I said, I'm not too interesting. So it's not really that much of a concern for me. I'm like the person who's like, yeah, I'll take that quiz to find out which mermaid I am. Like, let me get them all.
Girl, those Facebook ones are the most, actually. Like, those quizzes, the one where it was like, ageify yourself.
Yeah.
Those are the hacks right there.
I'm like, right for a
They're
second. Like,
fun.
should I? Nah, it's more important that I know what I look like in 30 years. Go ahead, take my info.
I mean, as long as you know what's important.
Right.
You know?
But I can understand why people are a little bit hesitant. Like when I'm, referring people and stuff, and they're like, I don't know. Like, what am I about to be getting into? So, I mean, I've never seen any proof of anything of that nature. But it is, I mean, something to kind of keep in the back of your mind. Like,
yeah, I just think that it's a great way to get a window into like what things are like globally and like other sides of the world. But with that does come some need to be aware and like some need for awareness.
Yeah. Right.
So we talked about pay and demand, referring and all of that. Joining, like making huge Facebook groups for referring teachers. Do those strategies still work? Because I know that you're a big time refer.
I mean, like I said, I still think it's a great part-time job. So there are still a lot of people who are looking for part-time work. But it's not as stable as it once was. It's not as guaranteed. A lot of these companies, you are waiting a long time. Now, I've been lucky. My referrals at GoGo Kid have all been able to start pretty quickly. They might not have tons of bookings right off the bat, but they're usually able to start getting a couple classes. And if they're a good teacher and they're getting good ratings, then it goes up. My referrals at VIP Kid, I mean, some of them get booked right away. Some of them wait months. Some of them never. I never get
VIP Kid's dead for me.
Yeah, some of them I never get paid for because they never teach a class, because they open up their class for a couple of months, nothing happens, and they go away because they're like, I'm not going to keep opening slots if I'm not getting booked. So I think that referring as we once knew it is not going to be the same, and not ever going to be the same, because people know about this job. 4 years ago, nobody knew about this job, and they were desperate for teachers. They're not desperate for teachers now. So, I mean, I think they still like to have high teacher numbers because we want to give parents a choice and that sort of thing. But I think we can see the writing on the wall from a lot of the changes that many of the companies, the amount that you're getting is going down. So, I mean, if you're thinking, I'm going to make tons of money and I'm going to make six figures, referring, starting right now, you're not. A lot of the people who are making a lot of money referring are making a lot of money referring because they got in, 5 years ago where there was no market, and they kind of were able to corner the market, and which is great for them. But, if I start a YouTube channel today, it's going to take a long time to get it off the ground. It's going to take a long time to get traction because I'm competing against a bunch of other people. If I go into a Facebook group and I want to drop my link in there, they have all gotten links from these companies a million, a trillion times. So, unless you have like a large, if you're like a professor, I think that's still a great way. If you're like a professor at a college, you got a lot of people about to graduate, that'd be a great, steady stream of people coming in and out. But unless you already have that, it's going to be kind of hard to build that at this point because you're competing against so many other people who are trying to do the same thing.
I agree. I see some questions in here. People are definitely having a harder time with VIP Kid bookings, and there's just so many teachers.
Yeah.
And they even have a U.S. office, but it's funny because their office is in California, and there's been that stuff going on with California.
Yeah.
Oh, that's also interesting.
And so, if you're listening, you don't know, California has new laws that make it kind of hard to be an independent contractor. And so VIP Kid has said they're not hiring any new California people as of right now. But I know New York is about to vote on a similar bill, and I'm sure that it's going to, continue. So that also raises the question, like, what's going to happen with that?
Great question.
I understand, from the perspective of like Uber, and some of those people do not get paid well.
No.
I think for what we do, we get paid a decent amount. I mean, like I said, you can't find a part-time job somewhere else for $20 an hour. Like it's not going to happen with the amount of flexibility that we have here. So I think it's a real, if that continues, if that trend continues, that's going to be really harmful. Now, a lot of the companies don't really have to worry about that because they don't have offices in the U.S. They have no ties to the U.S. at this point. But if they want to keep growing and eventually try and have, make those connections, it's going to get harder.
Yeah, people are saying that booking, I think that right now a lot of people are trying to figure out what their highest booking rate is for companies.
Yeah.
And the pay that's rolled out, it's kind of incentivizing people to pick a platform, open the most there to make the most.
Right.
That seems to be what's going on.
Yeah, and I'm really struggling with that myself because one of the reasons I branched out from VIP Kid wasn't because I didn't like VIP Kid. I like VIP Kid. I still teach there. But it gets kind of monotonous to be doing the same, curriculum, to see the same students over and over. And I just wanted to try something new. And I enjoy being able to go back and forth between different platforms just for a change of pace. So, yeah, having to kind of put all of my stuff into one basket to get the highest pay. Again, if I was going to continue doing this full time, that's probably what I would have to look at doing because I need every dollar that counts. As I'm moving to make this more of a part-time thing, it's not as good. If I lose a couple of dollars, fine. But if I was feeding my family on it, then yes, I'm going to have to go and open tons of bookings at one particular company over another.
And then you're at more risk because of cancellation policies and
I was sick this morning. This is like too much information, but I had an UTI. I woke up this morning. It was horrible. I did not want to teach. I had 5 classes at one company, 5 classes at another, and I sat there. It was horrible. But I sat there. I was like, I don't want to risk it. And I don't want to have to go through the hassle, like getting a doctor's note, getting, sending it in, waiting, having to have my stuff changed, waiting, seeing it wrong in the portals. And it's too much. So I just sat there and grimaced through.
There's also this issue of culturally, like the differences in the way the Chinese see illness and penalized. It's just like, it might be like forgiven, but like it might actually not.
And there's so much you don't know. There's so much that they don't tell you. And this is across the, doing interviews for the last year, I have had people from every single company out there. And I'm always amazed that when they come and they're like, hey, our company just let go of all these people. Or I got let go because I was in the hospital. And it's not just VIP Kid. It's not just Go-Go Kid. It is every single company out there. And if anyone tells you otherwise, they are just trying
to have a link they're trying to push on you.
Because it's every single, it's just not, you're an independent contractor. And you have to understand that going in. I think a lot of people do not get that. You're not an employee. This is a total different situation. And I've been self-employed before this, for the last, 15 years of my life, I've been doing self-employed stuff. And you really have to understand that going in, like it's not stable. Like you have to have a backup, you have to have savings, you have to figure out your retirement, like all that kind of stuff you have to put in place. You can't rely on
I'm trying to figure that out right now because at the age of 27, the pension and state systems, I was moving from state to state and I was suffering from burnout and I knew it wasn't happening. So this was great to kind of take a year and just like not hate what I'm doing every day when I wake up. That would have been awesome. But I did have the salary mentality for a while and I've only recently realized I'm not getting paid to admin all these extra Facebook groups and post free resources for teachers.
Yeah.
Sorts of things. I'm not going to win Teacher of the Year. And honestly, I don't know why you even want to because it's so much extra work.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But someone asked about the Go-Go. I don't know about the governor's state groups. That's interesting. I looked at that and I was like, this morning? I don't really know.
Yeah, I don't know what the purpose is yet. Maybe we'll find out someday.
Maybe it's something.
But again, a lot of times, they come out with these things, and you're like, well, there's no explanation. There's no, you don't know what the purpose is. But they don't have to communicate with us.
It's also interesting what they choose to push forward and what they don't address as well. Yeah. And that's been the pain point for me over and over again is I'll do my best and I'm doing the best that I can for my students and when I do workshops and stuff, but am I going the extra mile to communicate and go out of my way to work on things that may or may not result in me being compensated? No.
Right. And it's funny, even going into the official VIP Kid group or the official Go-Go Kid group, it's miserable. I'm I can't even go in because it's so many people. I'm this is your time that you're investing. Just show up and teach. That's what my mindset now is. I'm just going to show up and teach because you go in and it's just person after person after person and, investing their time. You're investing your time after class to go in here and complain. it's not going to change. Or you're investing your time to go in there and help, somebody answer a question that they could have read themselves, in the weekly update. And it just, after 4 years of trying to help people, I'm really happy to help people, who like are, want help and they want to get, be better, and they just understand the realities of the job as it is. But it becomes overwhelming to just constantly see people think they're going to change something, by complaining in a Facebook group or being nasty to people that are trying to help you.
That's what gets me, is seeing people who are hurt each other.
And I totally get it, because I'm frustrated as well. I'm at a level 2, guys. Level 2 here at GoGo Kid, and it just keeps going.
I'm a level 5, and I don't understand either. So just because you get to 5 doesn't mean you're bestowed with knowledge. Like, I have no idea.
Right. So I totally get it, but it is what it is. And you just, it is go with the flow like a dead fish, right? It is what it is.
All you can do.
Show up and teach, make your money, and leave, at the end of the day. And don't invest your, I'm really trying to find more of a balance. Don't invest your time that you could be spending with your family, your time you could be spending taking a nap or going for a run or making yourself a delicious cheeseburger. Don't spend it wasting time on any of these companies that, at the end of the day, they're just a company. I know a lot of people feel like, hey, they're my friends. And, I really bonded with this kid.
Maybe you make one friend.
Maybe
you make one friend.
But, it's not, it is what it is. It's a job at the end of the day. It's a job.
Yeah. And I think that's so true. Investing in yourself, and then just developing that awareness and like being able to be somebody who can walk into a position and use those skills. And the other thing is having the strength to walk away from situations that don't serve you. I had to resign from a teaching position last year, and I'm still getting things from that every once in a while as people find out how to comment on things on the internet.
Right.
But I think it's a strength in this day and age, because there's not the same employer-employee loyalty, even if you are employed. So having been self-employed and doing all these great extra things, you have what it takes to be someone that survives and thrives in this workforce, because it's crazy right now.
It's really rare. Back in the day, people got a company after college and they stayed at the same job, till they retired. And that's very rare to see. Like you said, even in the employer-employee relationship, it's rare to see somebody work for a company for more than, 5-10 years. People are moving. I think it's just the nature of things. Things have definitely changed employee work-wise.
And just public school teaching right now, oh my goodness. I got told by a principal, if you can fog up a mirror, I want you in the building. And we had a weekly email ranking us in attendance to other schools. Yeah, and there's like all these shaming articles that come out. Have you seen those? Like, teacher attendance rate of negatively affects student performance, or there's not enough teachers in Chicago public schools. And it's like, well, what are the conditions like of your employees?
Yeah. Like, there's no way I would want to go back to a brick and mortar school. Like, there's just not. And when I was thinking about all this over the last, several months, well, what am I looking for next year? What am I going to do? And deciding that, hey, I think I need to move this to part-time and find something else with, insurance and all that. My insurance keeps going up through the marketplace. So it doesn't make it very affordable when you factor all that in. I was like, I can't go back to a regular brick and mortar school. It's just miserable. And more power to everyone who's there.
Yeah, for sure.
There, but it's a lot. And to find a good school is rare.
If you find a good school, that is a diamond in the rough, and you stay there and you love those kids and you love your school. I keep moving, so that's just not a possibility for me, even if I could find that school.
Yeah.
So I've kind of given up that dream. It's actually funny because a lot of people come to me as a certified teacher who aren't certified and are just unemployed as a military spouse. And they're like, it's a good portable job, right? And I'm like, not yes, but it's honestly better to be a paraprofessional, because then you're not expected to do this stuff. And if your husband or whoever your partner is, your wife, your partner, your spouse, whoever, gets put on a TDY or temporary duty, which happened to me last year, and leaves you behind, I was stuck filling out my school year contract in a state where I knew nobody, had no friends, no support network, and kids that were honestly super entitled. And I dealt with Title I schools, and I had no idea how to work with those students and those parents. It was really tough.
Right.
So there's a lot, and I think that remote work, there's a lot of good possibilities. I've seen people being virtual assistants, people running their own stores. I know I saw Janice in the comments. She does Teachers to Teacher store. I see Danielle, too. She launched a product recently. There's a lot of entrepreneurial spirit people learn from this kind of job, so I think that that kind of stuff is awesome.
I was really, like I said, when I was doing, some interviews last week, I was just really like amazed at myself, like how much I'm like, man, the last 4 years, I've learned a lot of skills that I didn't realize I had, and that can be really marketable. I mean, you're talking, teaching online, you're talking and dealing with clients, your kids, the students, our clients, the parents, our clients, you're dealing with people every day. So you do develop a lot of those talents that you can definitely use. Yeah. The classes, Jan says, they're just one piece of a big puzzle. Yeah. But it's a lot: schedule management, organization, planning, all this stuff.
I've learned so much about that.
Yeah. And there's a lot out there, but you have, you have to really kind of sometimes dig for it and look for it.
Yeah. And so overall, I think that it's a great thing to get into part-time, but know what it is. Know the limits of it and be ready for it to keep changing.
Yeah. Exactly. Don't be surprised. Ride the train as long as it'll take you. But
love those kids.
It's not what it was 4 years ago. So when you've got people telling you this and that, you just really have to. A lot of us started 2, 3, 4 years ago, and it was different for us then. So we might not necessarily understand the struggles of somebody starting today, because we didn't wait months to get our first bookings. And I don't know that I could have stuck with, if I had to wait months to get a booking.
I started Chinese New Year 2 years ago, and I was still frustrated, but within a week, I got an email from VIP Kid asking to be a substitute teacher. So I got fast-tracked even then, I realized, like, looking back. I could have waited months, and I know that I wouldn't have. And I even got impatient, and I, didn't pass my first mock or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I'll give it one more try. Because I passed that second time, here we are.
Right, yeah.
I was ready to throw in the towel.
Yeah. It's a lot to ask somebody like, hey, commit all of this time up front, study all these materials, do these interviews and mock classes and everything, for this company in China. So, more power to people starting now, because I think it's a lot different than when we started, for sure.
But I do think there are a lot more resources. Like the Go-Go Kid has the Academy tab. And so now when I'm like, this person needs my help, I'm like, wait, Paige, there's a bunch of videos in the Academy. You don't actually need to answer this message at 10 p.m. when you should be in bed.
I just told someone the other day who asked on Facebook, where should I send my referrals for VIP Kid? What YouTube videos? And I was like, honestly, none. And I have videos, and I'm like, no, don't even send them there. There's tons of information in the VIP Kid, through the process. There's tons of information that these companies are giving you, which wasn't the case when we applied. There was nothing. So, and they're good resources. And that's, sometimes I see people who are just like, I followed the script from somebody's YouTube video, or I did exactly what you did in your video.
This is not a scripted job.
It's not a scripted job. And if you are just following a script, you might pass the interview, but you're going to suck. And the parents are going to rate you low, and you can't come back from that.
And you want to be yourself, too, because you want to attract clients that like you. And I'm honestly getting to the point where it's really hard for me to keep clients in my schedule that I like and like me. Because I don't know, my Go-Go Kid profile, if I could see my followers, not to brag, I don't like it because I have a hard time. I had a regular who, we had a system issue, and it was our last class of the week, and I couldn't open for him during class. I didn't see him for months. Yeah. And he couldn't get back on. I don't even know.
Right.
I don't know what to tell these parents.
Right. It's hard. And they get angry with you.
They do.
You're like, I'm not a thing. Yeah, and like Christy says, once if you're following a script, the interview has seen that script 500 times. Please don't.
And then there you go in your ratings right there.
Yeah, it's like,
just be yourself.
Yeah.
And you don't have to overthink it. The topics are simple for a reason.
Yeah.
The babies want an example and a non-example.
It's the skills. You need to make sure you understand what skills these companies are looking for. You have to have energy because you're dealing with little kids at a computer millions of miles away, so you have to have energy. They want to see, your props, your TPR. We want to get the kids talking. So you can't do all the talking. So it's not hard, but you have to understand what they're looking for.
You also need to like kids.
Yeah.
Because they'll do things like putting their hand in their mouth the whole class.
Yes. I had a student the other day, he literally had his hand, ate his full hand the entire time. The only time he took his hand out of his mouth was to laugh at Bobo the elephant in our story, who kept falling down and hurting himself. And so like there's a little audio and the
I bet you kept hitting that too.
Yeah, he's like, again. That's the only thing he wanted to see. He wanted to laugh at poor Bobo the elephant hurting himself. Otherwise, his hand was in his mouth. Oh. He was 12 years old. And I'm like, good Lord.
12? Yeah. I didn't know he was 12.
12.
6.
12 years old. The day before he placed the glue.
Yeah,
the day before he had glue, he put it all over the camera, all over his face, all over his hands. And I'm just like, I put a Post-it over it, and I just taught myself. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to.
Post-its are a great friend.
He keeps booking me. I'm like, please go away. So
I'm trying to shake him off.
Yeah, and there's other students who are awesome, but you have to be willing to put up with.
Every once in a while, I'll get someone like that, and I'm like, oh, I guess see you next time. But I'm kind of hoping someone's gonna beat you to that spot.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, there's so much going on that I feel optimistic about this as a side gig. You don't have to get into your car. It's safe. That's the thing. Like, I could do Uber Eats, or I could do Grubhub, or those sorts of things. Get in my car and drive around in a place where I don't know anyone late at night. Or I could sit in my pajamas and teach some cute kids.
Right. And the hours are good. I mean, the hours are not good, but the hours are good. The hours aren't good. The fact that, it's, tired. But, I mean, it works well with other things. You can still do this and do another job because most places are not looking for somebody at 4 a.m. So, yeah, I think it's an awesome side gig. Great part-time money. Very flexible. But to try and make it a full-time job is getting harder and harder and harder to do.
Yeah. And so knowing that going in, knowing this is affecting all companies everywhere, I started a new company recently, 101, and everything is already changing within a month. They restructured referrals. They're paying teachers less, starting them out with lower base pays. So this idea that you can go to the next company, there's so many of us that we move fast and we put the downward pressure on wages.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm just constantly seeing people looking for like the next big company. I don't think it's going to be there. I don't think there's going to be a next big company. Like I said, these companies aren't profitable. So unless you have, the only reason GoGo is really the only one that I have seen in the last, 3 years or so that has come around and is growing. And that's because they have a huge backer. It's most of these companies do not. These little small companies, as much as we all would love to see some other company come in, swoop in and pay us all a bunch of money, I just don't see it happening down the road. The industry is going to move towards more of the AI stuff, I think, here in the next 5 years or so, and we're just
which I understand, but I also think it's kind of a shame because I got trained to be a reading specialist, and in this kind of setting, I can actually do what I went to school for. So I'm kind of hoping to maybe do some reading and finding clients privately. Maybe in the future, that's like my goal, but the problem is I don't know about the market. Yeah. Because it seems like in general, Americans don't value it with their dollar the way the Chinese do, which is a shame.
Well, I think there'll always be a place for that too. Because people want to interact with somebody live, but I think you're going to have to develop a niche, if you will, to really make it work. You're a teacher who, does reading, great. Or you're somebody who has some maybe advanced science skills and you're going to tutor high school, Chinese high school students in science. I think
it's funny because I'm seeing some tutoring platforms, and even with that, I was seeing it was like a tutoring company to help kids in school for credit recovery, and these tutoring platforms, they're capping people around 15, 20, and I don't understand it. Yeah. Because that's not, if I get paid $25 an hour to teach a 3-year-old in China about the word hand for 25 minutes, you would think that an ACT, SAT, GRE tutor would be making at least more than 30.
You would think. But I think too, people are more, there's more people at that younger age, like parents who are willing to say well, maybe my kids, this is really going to work for them. Once they're getting up into high school, I think people are not as willing to put in the money because it's like they're either there or they're not. So, I think you're
having taught high school, this is true.
Right. Like your group of parents who are willing to put in the money at a high school level are going to be a lot less than, 4 years old when they're thinking maybe this is going to be something my kid's really going to be good at and excel in. So
This is true. And on that note, I guess you have so many kids in school. You have had high schoolers, you've had preschool age. You have so much range in your house.
yes.
Which is incredible to me. As we're dinks right now. So I guess everyone who's a parent, I'm just like, what's going on? I'm trying to see my future. Like, right? How do you do it?
Yes, yeah. And I mean, this is a great job too for, you know, if you want to stay at home and, you know, we've got young kids, the hours work out well for you. But yeah, I think everyone just has to look at their own situation and realize it's not what it was 4 years ago. And if you're going, you know, still holding on to that dream, like, hey, 4 years ago, I was getting $300, $400 bonuses every month just for opening normal amount of classes. We're not going to get back there ever.
No, unfortunately not. And those were great times. I miss those incentives so much. But I think it's good to be aware of where things are and just go in like fully understanding. And that's why we wanted to put this on live and share kind of discussion that we've kind of been having, you know, between us and like share it and expand it more broadly, because I think people need to seriously consider the future of this industry and think about applying their skills, and if they need to maybe shift back from full-time to part-time again, or they want to pick it up even as part-time because it is a good part-time job still. You need to just know what's going on.
Yeah.
All right, and that, we've been talking for a while, haven't we, Brett? It's been quite a bit. It's a lot.
There you have it. We've said it all.
There you have it. There you have it. I'm going to try to make sure I save this. There's a button I have to push and a button I have to not push. So hopefully I push the right one and I can save it and we can put this somewhere. We'll share where we put it, because I do know that the Instagram Live is live for 24 hours, and I'd like the shelf life to be longer if we can. So I'm going to try to follow the directions carefully.
Okay. All right.
Thank you so much for joining, Brett.
Thank you, Paige. Thank you guys for joining.
Yeah, you're welcome. And thank you, everyone, for joining. Bye. All right.